Hey everyone, thanks for joining us this week for our expert interview series. And I'm really excited to be able to have this guest on, Robert. I met him I think maybe 2 years ago now. Time's been flying by, at a Dan Kennedy GKIC seminar where he really was talking about retention, newsletters. And ever since then, I looked up a lot of the stuff he was talking about. And the concept of retention has been something that I've always been really going back to with being able to build a successful practice. And I sent him a message a couple of days ago, and we kind of reconnected. And I said, hey, I'd love for you to come on and talk a little bit more about how can we implement the concepts of retention and really maximizing our business and clinic growth by taking kind of the less common route of not having to get new patients all the time, but taking care of the ones that we currently have, creating Found Money and other systems so that way we can maximize what we currently have, reduce our churn rate of patients either dropping off or discharging and so on. So really excited for you to join us this week. I'll have you maybe just kick off for those of you who don't know yourself, just kind of tell us a little bit about how you came to be and in terms of the mastery of retention.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's an honor. I'm so excited to be here to serve you and certainly your viewers and listeners. There's so many health practitioners right now that are just working way harder than they need to because they're going after the next new patient, or they are a little low on patients here or there, or they have little dips in their calendar, and how to smooth out your revenue, how to have ongoing patients by retaining the ones that you're keeping is just absolutely great topic, something I love and near and dear to my heart. I started working I was a CPA by training and accounting. I worked in public accounting for about 2.5 months and hated it, and got a job as a bookkeeper for a company that did consulting with nonprofit associations. And so kind of threw myself into the whole membership world when I actually bought that company 5 years later, and started in around 2004 working with for-profit subscription businesses, and actually built my own subscription business and sold it in 2012. And in the years since have been working with primarily large for-profit subscription and membership type businesses, helping them keep their subscribers from quitting so that they can improve the value of each subscriber they get because their subscriber comes to them and buys more from them on an ongoing basis. So it's wonderful to be able to talk about a lot of these ideas and concepts that, kind of taking from the subscription world and putting it into the clinical world where, it just makes life so much easier.
Totally. And retention's often like a topic that's not really talked about too much. A lot of the time practitioners are really focused on marketing, getting new leads, getting new clients, which is obviously like an important aspect. And it's also contextual to like where you are, whether you're a startup and needing to get a lot of new people, or you're a clinic. And there's a lot of clinics that I've worked with. I spoke to a practitioner who owned a larger clinic. They were getting about 100 leads per month in, and their whole goal was, we need more leads. But I'm looking at, well, your plans of care completed are like abysmally low. Like people are coming in, they're not completing what they need. So, and then couple that with bad kind of like accounting, which I'm sure you would touch on. Well, I sold $2,000 of treatment, but they only completed 1,000 of it. So you actually didn't, it was kind of like a loss at that point as well. So retention is like really when I'm working with people, that's one huge marker that I look at is like plans of care completed. How are we keeping these people? And is there other services that we can provide in-house that saves them from having to go somewhere else? So for one, we can deliver a better experience service overall by keeping it in-house. And number two, if possible. And number two, it's another stream of income that can obviously increase our lifetime value of clients, but also decrease the acquisition cost from a marketing standpoint, which allows us to spend more and to acquire new clients and so on. So I'm curious, when we're looking at the retention, what are some of the key things that you really look at when you're gauging the retention as kind of like the main factors, or those key factors?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. In particular, there's nothing more expensive in your business than the new customers. And I know you've spent a lot of money on equipment in your office, the office itself, your employees, but the customers, trying to get them is really the most expensive thing that you spend, either in time going to networking meetings or in actual advertising in order to get those new patients in. You wouldn't take a machine or some sort of table or device in your office, and even though maybe it lasts 5 years, you wouldn't throw it away after 4 months because you don't need it anymore. And if you aren't focused on retention, it's just like throwing away the equipment that's only 4 months old but would last 5 years because you aren't taking care of it. And the most health practitioners, they think that if they just do a great job with their treatment, that is in and of itself what will bring a customer back over and over again. And if there is a customer that's in great pain, then helping relieve that pain, that customer is going to come back. But as that pain subsides, so does really their motivation. And what we have to do is, while we are working with them, create other motivations, reasons why they want to come back. And with most businesses, once a patient is kind of moved out of that point where they're no longer kind of in an acute situation, then what you sell is a luxury good. They, they don't feel like they need it as much. They might want it because it's preventative or it helped them feel good and they want to continue to feel good. And so we have to sell like luxury good providers. I have had the honor of working with Harley-Davidson dealers here in Florida since 2003 and doing training for dealerships, and we've done some cooperative marketing. And for Harley-Davidson, those motorcycles are 25 to 30% more expensive than any other motorcycles in their category, and Harley-Davidson sells more than 50% of the motorcycles in their category. I don't know another premium brand that has more than 50% of the market share. I mean, it'd be in clothing, it'd be like Neiman Marcus selling more clothes than Target, Walmart, Amazon, and everybody else combined. So having Harley-Davidson as a luxury good and 50% plus market share is amazing. But why? There isn't Harley-Davidson only lanes on the highway. Harley-Davidson doesn't get you to your destination any faster than any other type of motorcycle or a transportation device. It's Harley-Davidson is all in the feeling that it gives you when you ride it, and the story that the Harley-Davidson owner tells themselves about that motorcycle and about who they are when they ride that motorcycle. And this, above all, should help us understand that it isn't the device, it isn't the care that is the determination as to how much that customer values what we're delivering. Because you got Suzuki and Honda out there, and Honda talks about the engineering, the quality, and heaven forbid, even the price of what they sell. Whereas Harley-Davidson commercials talk about the experience. And so when you are approaching your customers thinking that by doing something in your care, like the device, similar to being the Honda of quality of care, then you're not going to have the retention that other practitioners have when they're focused on the feeling and the story that your patients have about their care and about their health and who they are as a patient because they're coming to you for ongoing care.
Totally. And I think that that's a really, that's an important aspect. Number one, focusing on, the retention, because obviously it's more expensive to have to get people, 5 or 6 times, whatever the figure is, in order to get new people instead of just retain the people you have. But really looking at, and I always advocate to say, looking at your patients in terms of, there's kind of surface level stuff. Yes, I've got back pain. I can't golf or whatever, but what is kind of the deeper level stuff? And that kind of sounds like the Harley Davidson is like, well, I want to be able to, as I get older, I want to feel better. I don't want to feel worse. I don't want to be like my dad who's can't, bend over and tie his shoes without his back going out. Like, I want to feel like I'm the powerful person. And I always talk a lot about, people buy the solutions, not the service, and really focusing and spending time building the relationship to say, like, yeah, we're going to focus on your shoulder or your low back pain, but like, what's the real underlying thing? And there's a lot of kind of discussion where a practitioner will say, well, I'm so good, I fixed someone and I don't never need to see me again. And I've actually found that really does a lot of disservice, because it gets people into the wrong mindset where I'm solving one problem. Okay, I'm fixed. I don't need any more problems. But in my scenario, that they just come to me because they've tried other practitioners, and in their mind, they're thinking, well, something's wrong with me. How do I have these bigger goals, but I wasn't necessarily able to achieve them. So I think, that's a really big aspect of being able to communicate that. So I'm curious, like, what are some suggestions you have to kind of bridge that gap to snapping out of, like, you're getting chiro care or physio care to, we're actually working on this together where you can become a better human and live life kind of on your own terms, pain-free, instead of, yeah, we're fixing your shoulder kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's really helping that, telling that story. And number one, it's understanding that you have to tell that story, because it's, we're taught, going through school, that kind of school is the ticket. Just get these skills at your school, and then, you punch your ticket and you can go off. And then you kind of get that first job, and that's the ticket. And maybe it's your own practice or being, a high level within the practice. And so we're being told a story as practitioners as to what the goal is. And really, none of those are what creates the largest value. And the value is created in helping our patients recognize and tell themselves a story about who they are, the type of person they are, and why getting this care that they're getting is going to help them, live their best life. There's a funny episode of Simpsons when you got Homer Simpson, and he's eating a whole bunch of donuts and he's drinking a whole bunch of mayonnaise, and Marge is going like, man, the older Homer Simpson is going to really regret what you ate. And Homer's like, yeah, I'm really glad I'm not that guy. And there's this big disconnect here with humans, that we aren't the guy or the gal that we're going to be in 10 years. But what we do today is going to have a big influence on how that person's going to enjoy their life. And helping the humans that are, the Homer Simpsons that are coming into your office, see the person that they want to become. And have this picture of the super senior who is flexible, strong, or that have some sort of depiction of similar to Harley. They have a depiction of who their customer is, and it's somebody who wears leather and scares the old ladies as they drive through town. And what you want to do is have this picture, and maybe it's even in story form right now. But one of the best things about chiropractic care is how it helps you live a much longer and happier life. There's so many people who go without an adjustment that they feel lethargic and run down, so they don't get the exercise that they need. And because they don't get the exercise, maybe they don't have the appetite, or they don't eat the right foods that they should be eating. And so then that creates inflammation, and it makes them even more lethargic. And unfortunately, many people aren't as happy when they're older, simply because of the symptoms around poor adjustment of their spine. And so this is helping you feel better today, but is also an important contribution to living your best life in the future. And that's just off the top of my head, but some sort of story that you're able to kind of tell your patients on an ongoing basis that they can internalize, and that this is what your newsletters are about. This is what your patient emails and your confirmation emails, and this is some of the things you're talking about when you're giving care, that help implant that story into your customer's mind, so that they're getting care, yes, to help improve the urgent thing that they have now, but also it's part of who they want to become.
Totally. And I know you mentioned something, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but you mentioned about in your book, like what new members need to believe to be true in order to become like long-term engaged. Is that kind of what you mean with the story?
Yeah, I think that's an important step. So, what is it that somebody who gets lifelong care from you needs to believe about the care, who they want to become, and even themselves in order to do that? You see people who are 75 years old and they're at the pool every day swimming in order to stay strong. It's like, okay, what does that person believe about the discipline of doing it every single day? What do they believe about swimming? What do they believe about themselves? Kind of deconstructing those beliefs, and then kind of applying something similar to your most loyal long-term customers. The folks that come to you on an ongoing basis for many years for preventative care. It's so much easier to sell the cure than it is to sell prevention. But if you never try to sell prevention, then it's never going to happen. But what you want to do is, instead of saying, oh, well, we want to prevent problems, it's, okay, what does the person who gets prevention believe about themselves, about the care, and about the world? And they probably believe that preventing problems is better than having an urgency, that they're going to be able to be more productive in other areas of their life because this is taken care of, that it's cheaper to get ongoing care than it is to have urgent problems, that they're able to be happier, and and then maybe even they are able to extend their life, and not just extend their life, but extend the quality of life into older age, because they're getting this care, and not be a burden on their family, and be able to, and it's kind of fun, right? It's a social thing. It's a place where you're around people you want to be around, and really think through what they have to believe in order to become a long-time preventative care patient, and then start talking about those beliefs within your culture.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's super important. I refer to this as like really the foundations for the successful business, and kind of like what I teach with marketing, sales, retention, and that kind of stuff is related to what I call the patient success journey. So starting from lead to that maintenance plan and becoming advocates, ideally getting a referral to kick that off again. And a lot of the time people focus on the beginning stage of, I need to get new clients. But what I actually get people to think about is starting, I know you touched on this in your book too, is like the end in mind of saying, well, this is the end goal of what we want the person to be able to do. And then reverse engineering the process to say like, okay, well, what does this look like? Because I find a lot of people focus so heavily on the front end that they put so much effort here that they kind of lose a little bit of energy as they go on, instead of really making it about, if you're getting people really good results, they're getting referrals, they're staying with you to prevent potential issues or to help them play golf longer, or, as they age and that kind of stuff. That's really where the money is. It's easier of a relationship, ideal if you're dealing with the right type of people you want to work with, of course. And really that's how you can grow the business. For me, having the gym, having the clinic, that was a really big aspect, because every month, we had 50% of the income is automatically coming in like that. So, everything's covered, everything's great. And having the emphasis, and I even, I think this is a Dan Kennedy thing of saying, making sure you have your marketing budget includes retaining people, referrals, that kind of stuff as well. So I think that's an excellent point for sure.
And one of the stories that I heard is probably 15, 18 years ago now, from Steve Miller was the one who talked about it, because he used to be a professional golfer, and he had talked about, the way amateurs play golf is completely different to the way professionals play golf. Amateurs play golf by, stepping up to the tee box, and you hit the ball kind of as far as you can. And then wherever it lands, you go to the ball and you kind of hit it again. And then then by the time, maybe by the third shot, you're trying to aim for the green and, drop it somewhere on the green. And then you're left to putt. Whereas professional golfers, they go to the hole the day before and they walk the course, and they start at the green, and they look at the green, the hole placement. Where do I want the ball to land on the green to give myself the best opportunity to make the putt? And then from where they want to have the land on the green, they figure out where they want to take the approach shot from. And then based on that, they now know where they're trying to drive to on the fairway in order to be able to set themselves up for the hole. And of course, things happen and change, and you got to change the plan. But having a plan from the beginning, based on where you want to end up, helps you get there. If you have no plan and you're simply showing up, trying to get new patients, and your idea of retention is being the best provider, then you're not going to be able to have a whole lot of patients that come to you for ongoing care and preventative care. If preventative care is the goal, and you engineer your marketing to begin with that idea, where you're bringing them in for some sort of acute problem, and the idea of getting an acute case is to turn them into a long-term preventative care patient, and that's how you're thinking from the time they walk in your office, that's going to have a totally different approach of how you talk to them, how you bring them in to a treatment plan, how you present the treatment plan, and how you retain them through that, and then through the preventative program. So, I absolutely wanted to ring a bell, Brad, on that, having a plan before they come in. I think that's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and it's a huge component that people just really don't think about. I always say it's like the patient success journey is really like what happens at each step. And part of the retention is your sales process of like telling people what is going to happen next, and all like kind of future pacing, so to speak, to like kind of talk about it. And I know you say like something along the lines of every communication you have is really like a sales communication. I think sometimes people take that negatively. We're saying, well, we're practitioners, we shouldn't be selling people. But the reality is that sales in everything we do. You're selling your spouse to eat a specific meal, or to, walk the dog or not, or like whatever it is. So you're always kind of like selling things. And I think that sometimes the negativity is like, well, we're always selling. Yeah, but communication is helping them move forward to make more decisions. And it actually strengthens relationships. So I'm curious to hear kind of like your thoughts on like how to engineer that communication and sort of make sure that it is actually moving people to the next step, and sort of just blasting people out with random stuff. I know for like SaaS businesses, I use a lot of them too, where it's just, you don't feel it, you feel more as a number we're just trying to get an extra couple bucks from you because they didn't hit their targets, instead of like actually caring about you and facilitating that journey. So
No,
yeah, I'd love to hear more specifically on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a physician, a care provider, you pretty quickly figure out that if you have your white coat on during the presentation of findings, that more clients say yes to treatment than if you don't have your white coat on. Or you're just wearing street clothes. And so we know beyond any matter of doubt that like having that white coat on helps you improve your take rate on the treatment plans. And so we know we're selling, right? We already have to admit to ourselves that we're dressing for the part, and we're becoming a character so that the more patients will get the treatment that they really need versus not. So like the whole idea that we're not selling or we don't like it, or I think that we really gotta we got to get rid of that, because it's over. We're selling, and we have to give in. But I think there is a way of doing it that has authenticity for you, that it doesn't feel like you're being pushy. And none of us like to be sold, but we enjoy buying things that we want, and we enjoy having treatment, and we enjoy being able to tell ourselves a story that the things we're doing today are going to make us a happier, stronger person later in life. And that being able to tell those stories to your patients and recognize that those stories that they are going to be telling themselves are an as important part of the care you're giving than as is the actual care itself, the actual exercise or the actual adjustment. Because that story determines whether or not they're going to stick with care, whether they're going to have another acute event later, or whether or not they're going to continue treatment and really experience the outcome that's possible through your care. And that see the sales really more as helping your patient recognize the value to themselves that they can experience than it is, trying to get them into some membership so you can make money. And I think that the key here, Brad, is kind of, so many people who go into the sales idea are kind of focused on them. Maybe they need money, or maybe they have bills to pay, or they have staff to pay, or rent. And so they are kind of concerned, like, I got to make a sale. And so they feel like they're kind of pulling something over on someone else. Well, if you simply take your eyes off yourself and put it on your patient instead, and you think in terms of what's the best thing for this patient to complete the treatment program? Great. So what we'll do is, what story do we have to tell the patient that they can tell themselves that's going to help them want to complete the treatment program? And so we like, what do they need to believe? What do they need to tell themselves? What do they need to tell their spouse? And we can back into that so that the plan itself is presented with those stories. And then we reaffirm those stories with the signage that we have in our office and in our treatment rooms, and even the things that we talk about when we're with the patient. And that it isn't so much oh, hey, Dad, how you doing today? It's so great to see you. You've been fishing again. Instead, it's, wow, Brad, I see that you're making a lot of progress. And, this is, of course, here we're all about helping you be healthier, do the things that you enjoy, and being able to be more active later in life so that you have more enjoyable years. And, so many seniors certainly live longer, but, they don't have the quality of life. And so, Brad, what we're about here is helping you have that and enjoy that quality of life for the long term. And what I can see is that, we have 4 weeks of the treatment left, and while we have taken care of this acute stage, I think that it's critically important in order to set yourself up that we go ahead and make sure that we complete the rest of your treatment. Is that okay? And so that we're able to kind of confirm, and that's so we're not talking about fishing or hunting. We're talking about helping them live their best life.
Yeah, I love that, and it's transition. It sounds like transitioning to making it really about cultural fit too, and then your sales is kind of a lot easier because you've got everything as the experience in the culture, so it feels kind of congruent. And I chatted with Vance Morris on this, if you're familiar with him, about the patient experience, and it sounds very similar. So I really like that.
My key is the focus is on them, and so you aren't doing this because, you're making money, but you aren't doing it to make money. You're doing it because it's the best treatment for the patient long term. And one of the things that we've got to do in order to help the patient get the treatment they need is to actually help the patient recognize the value of the treatment. When they're hurting, it's easy, right? But then after that, they pass that acute stage, we got to bring out our other skills so that the patient recognizes and can help measure for themselves what the value is here.
Totally. I think that's super important. So yeah, I think we covered a lot of stuff so far, like on that retention of like starting with the back, starting with the end in mind, reverse engineering, and really making it about the experience of what they want, what the people actually want, and taking the time to disassociate what we think clinically and actually start to connect on a more personalized level, and sort of, just being that practitioner, which is kind of what we're taught. We're taught like, do a good job, people will come to you. And that's just not the case. There's a lot of practitioners who are kind of like, shit, like I could have helped this person. And I know physios, I see it all the time in groups, like, I can't believe they're going to get personal training. Well, because the personal trainers like understand this really well. And maybe it's, they may not be the best solution, but that person believes it because they built that kind of experience. So I think that that's huge to really touch on.
Yeah. I mean, to the extent that you see patients kind of going, getting cannibalized to other providers, you can know that you're not doing this communication as well as you should be. Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it that way, but that's a sign that this isn't working, and that you have an opportunity to, in addition to your clinical skills, to also help your patient skills, where your patients, well, they might love you and think that you're awesome and you're a great pal, and they love chit-chatting with you at the office, but there's something about that other person that they saw as the long-term opportunity. And so what you need to do is help take this as a sign that you have a tremendous opportunity within your own practice to change your communication so that you're focused on helping your patient tell the story to themselves about why your care is the single best pathway to improving their long-term happiness and health.
Totally. And I know we kind of chatted a little bit before this, also talking about, well, retention is not just about getting people to do their plans of care and kind of all the stuff we've been chatting about for the past, kind of 25 minutes or so, but also like, how do we create other services and take advantage of like helping them actually facilitate this? So if we aren't doing like what I refer to as maintenance plans of care, creating that or looking for other avenues. So I'm curious, like how you kind of go in and take a look at what you're currently offering as a service and either make an adjunct service or kind of an ascension into the business in that kind of aspect.
Yeah, I think that it's important to recognize that within any business that's actually measuring these sorts of things, what you'll find is that, and then also offering additional price points and things for your customers to buy, is that that 80% of your revenue will come from 20% of your customers. And it's kind of backwards thinking. We think of every patient as important, but in terms of money, there are some patients that are willing to spend more. You could think of this as kind of one of the examples that I think is really one of the strongest in this case is from like the box seats at a football stadium, or seating at a football stadium. And there you can watch the football game on television, and there's kind of one level of commitment and price to watch it on TV. Maybe there's a cable bill or what have you. And then second, you can buy tickets, go to the stadium, maybe tailgate, go inside and watch the game. You also then have the opportunity to upgrade those tickets into club seats, where maybe you go straight, you park, you go to the game, there's club where there's food and drinks, and you then have seats with little armrests or what have you. And then you can spend more, and there is a skybox. And that's astronomically more, but for some that's the experience they want. But the football game is the same. That doesn't change. And so recognizing that some patients will spend quite a bit more than others, and in bringing your practice in line with that. Now, I know with medical, a lot of times you're billing and you're doing things, there's some rules and things around that, but having ways that patients can invest in other services. The key here is if you get nothing when you offer nothing, right? So if you want to have, if you think, oh, well, I don't think very many of my patients would want to pay for an ongoing maintenance subscription where they can come in once a month and get treatment, and that way and then maybe there's some other benefits of priorities, or maybe it's a phone that's answered just for them, and they get special perks within the office, and that not very many of my patients would want that. Well, I can tell you that if you don't offer it, zero will buy. And so if you do offer it, then it's like 100% increase of the revenue that you get. And so there's really no downside in offering it. Creating this program, certainly it can be premium priced, and it's all packaged in the story of, hey, we have our VIP patients who become members of this program, and what they get is, treatment every month, a special phone line that they can call and get appointment, get in, they get priority seen, maybe there's a list of benefits that you're able to provide, and that tells them a story that they're important and that they want to be part of this, and that it demonstrates to themselves that they're taking their health seriously, and that they are an important person within your circle because they're this premium buyer. And the key point of it is, if you don't offer it, you get nothing. You're guaranteed to get zero. But by offering it, even if a small percentage actually buy it, that's you get 100% of revenue you wouldn't have gotten otherwise, and that's a tremendous premium, and that goes essentially straight to the bottom line.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge aspect. It's like, I know I was working with one physiotherapist, and she was like, well, I'm kind of thinking about this, but I don't know. So we literally just sent out like a spear, a 9-word kind of message, like, I'm putting together this program. It's going to help you with preventing injuries and all that kind of stuff. Where you get one appointment per month, you get special privileges where you can book into my calendar within, because usually she booked up like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You can book in right away. She sent it out, and I think sold maybe 5 or 6 of them right off the bat within like 24 hours. And that was a premium service that was above and beyond. So she added more, but I would always argue like she's actually providing a better service, because there's always those level of people. For me, I get treatments. I would get a massage every week. I miss sometimes here and there, but I will pay the premium where I can book in at the times that I want because I'm busy. If I will pay for someone to come to my place, like whatever it is, because my time, I'm valuing it maybe more so than some other people. So I will pay the premium. So I think that's a really big thing to think about. It's just, if you've got that idea, it's one thing that you could literally do today is just saying, hey, I'm thinking about putting this program together. Would you be interested? And just shooting it out and see what happens. If you get crickets, well, maybe it's not the best fit. And all you did is you took maybe 5 minutes writing an email out. And I sort of would say, go back to your patients and maybe ask them, like, I like to poll a lot. And maybe you've got a specific tactic for that too, but I like to poll a lot of my patients, like, how are you finding things? What could be better? What are you looking for? I bought saunas because people were interested in it. And it was something that they would, okay, cool. It's a value add. It's something that they love. They'll tell everyone about it. It's very minimal cost and it allows you to charge more money. So, polling the clients if you're not getting results is also another thing that I found.
Tremendous.
Help with
That's
that
great.
Well.
Those are great ideas.
Cool.
It doesn't cost you anything to send out an email and test and, see who, and that's that for her, that's, ongoing money that just starts showing up. And like you said before, within your own business, half your revenue, it comes in on a subscription basis at the beginning of the month. And, that didn't start in one email or in one day, but you got to start it in order to get to that point where you're not starting every month at zero and trying to make sure you fill every slot in your calendar and, push everything you can in order to make your number at the end of the month. You're starting with half your revenue already. And then, if something goes wrong or there's a big storm and people don't come in for a day or two, it doesn't wipe out your revenue or your practice. Instead, your bills are covered in advance, and now you're able to generate patients that you're able to grow your subscriptions. And it just kind of totally changes your whole perspective and attitude around business, where you're not worried or anxious about trying to do. Instead, you're more focused on helping to build a following and build a group of subscribers that love you and want to be part of your program. And so that you take care of them, they take care of you, and life is just so much more fun.
Totally. Yeah. And that's a big thing for practitioners, is that you'll hear a lot. It's inconsistencies in income. People are going on vacations. I know Florida, like, where you are, there's a lot of people. Well, there's people like, it's hard because I have peaks and valleys and my income drops and everything. It's very challenging to run a business in your life if you're making 10 grand 1 month and then you're making 3 for the next 2. So, having those things helps to alleviate it. I argue patients actually get better because they're going to be active. They're not going to do the homework most of the time. So, like, if we can stay on top of it, it helps them. We're getting more stabilized income. So it's easier for you to grow your business. And I kind of listening to you, it almost sounds like you're sort of, with your business, looking at the end in mind too. What kind of business do you want? Like, do you want to have to start every month at 0 and hope, like, shit, I got to get 40 new patients this month? Or would you rather start with, I've already got 20 patients booked in. I've got 6 grand or 10 grand, whatever it is, in income coming in this month, and I only need to get a couple more people. It's a lot less stressful than having to try to slap together a last minute Facebook ad and all these other things. And you're kind of like being more reactionary instead of actually building your business out and being preventative. And that kind of makes sense.
Totally.
So I appreciate kind of like sharing, some of those thoughts in terms of like, repackaging the offers and that kind of stuff. And I know you kind of talk a little bit about, I know you got like the 10, I forget what we call them, 10 retention accelerators.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, we kind of touched on some of them, but are there ones that you feel would be really adaptable that we didn't cover for health practitioners, in giving some more insight to retention and creating a new program and so on?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the other things is, one of the retention accelerators we talk about is, value is like water. Too much is just as bad as too little. Mm-hmm. And what I think a lot of, particularly even health practitioners or anyone who has a subscription or catering to customers, is in this mindset of, I got to do more. Let me add this, or, pile this on, or put this into my office, or, they're constantly thinking about what more could I do? And what I have found is that you want instead to help them you want to accelerate the fulfillment of the customer. And giving them more stuff may not be that accelerator. Certainly the story they tell themselves can be a tremendous accelerator. Sometimes simplifying what you're delivering so that it's easier to consume, or that there's less to consume. Maybe, if you're a physio and you're giving them exercises, maybe there's a way that the exercises are given that makes it gamified and more fun, so that it's not more, it's just better. Because it's kind of a fun thing rather than a have to do. Maybe, if there are exercises, maybe there's like, a top, 5 that they do every day, and that, you do these 5 every day for 2 weeks, and that, they get some sort of, certificate, or invited to a gift certificate, or, get invited to an office party or something, and they become an insider. So you just, like, rather than give more, let's figure out how we can get the patient to where they want to be faster, with less aggravation, less work, and make it, and fine tune that process, rather than going, oh, and let's give them this, and let's add that, and let's throw this in. That's what I found in particular for higher priced products, that, rather than like more of the same, let's instead figure out how to get them to their destination faster.
I love that. I think that's huge. It's like almost like simplifying your process as well. And I guess also communicating it in a way that they understand. So they're not thinking like, oh, I need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I can't remember it. Too many exercises, not going to do it.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. I love that. I think it's super important. So
thank you.
Yeah, I know we're kind of coming up to time here, but I feel like it went by super quickly, just kind of blasting through everything. So I really appreciate you coming on and kind of, sharing some retention and really making it almost like the cornerstone of your business, and, really factoring it in, putting some effort, putting some time into it. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing it. Is there anything kind of last thoughts that you had, before we kind of sign off?
No, I mean, I think that the core thing that you're doing is delivering transformations. You're helping your patients get from where they are to where they want to be and what they want to become, and helping, rather than thinking it in terms of delivering services, think of it as helping your patients get to where they want to become. And that's much more valuable than simply, some type of manipulation or some type of exercise or stretching. What level of mobility, what level of health, what level of lifestyle they want, and be about helping them experience that more than you come in for a particular service, I deliver that service, you give me money. Be in the transformation business versus the service provider business.
Love it. Love it. And if people want to find out more about you and kind of the stuff that you do, how can they get in touch?
Yeah, the best place is simply my website at robertskrob.com. That's RobertSkrob.com. There's the Retention Point book. There's a link there where they can get a copy over on Amazon. There's some other information there, some videos about creating memberships and retention. But absolutely pleasure to be on the program, and so excited about what you're doing for healthcare practitioners and helping them get out of the grind and enjoy their lives, because they're able to come to work with customers already. They're members, be able to not worry so much about paying their bills, and be able to help their patients have great transformations in their lives.
Love it. I appreciate your time, and I'll make sure I drop those links below for anyone So everyone, lots of value here. Excited to hear your biggest takeaways. And thank you again, Robert, for coming on.
It's absolutely my honor. Thank you for having me.